Hello again, everyone. Martin here, and this is the Martin Smith Podcast. Wherever you're listening from, thank you for being here and following along. This is the last episode from my chat with John Alzlewood. We've covered the early years, delirious stuff, and touched on the start of my solo career. This is the final episode, episode 4, Dancing in the Fire.
Let's start with Dancing in the Fire. I know you alluded to this, but it's there's such a spirit and such jauntiness about it.
What a great word, jauntiness. I love that. But I know exactly what I mean. It's I think stylistically it's probably the biggest surprise on the record. And we chose to go out with it first. Wrote it with a guy called Junior Gar, amazing musician, a guy called Gable Price. And I just think it's got a groove. Interestingly, the piano riff I wrote when I was 19. So I've had it like on the shelf for all those years, and every time I played it, someone's like, not sure I like that much. And I begged Johnny, after all these years, look, please, would you like this piano riff? Dun, 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 dun. And he was like, all right, go on then, let's try it. And then we both grew to love it. And then that became that song. But I think it is lyrically like what I was saying before, that sense of, look, we've had a lot taken away from us. You know, we've had to stay indoors, we've had all this, you know, some of it's been horrific, but I love that Coldplay line about, you know, we've got to keep dancing in the dark, you know, when the lights go out. I love that line. So I think it's sort of like, come on, let's just keep moving our feet. We just keep doing the things we can do, singing and dancing, whether that's on the kitchen table or whatever, and the good times will come again.
Okay, shall we talk about Trouble?
Yeah.
Where'd the Kingdom Choir come from?
The Kingdom Choir are amazing. They are the choir that sang at Harry and Meghan's wedding.
Oh, of course.
At the royal wedding, yeah. Yes. And I remember watching that and seeing them, and like, wow, that's amazing. Got in touch with them, and thinking I'd never hear anything. Sent them the song, and they were like, oh, this is exactly where we're at. This is exactly what we want to say as well. We're going to sing our way out of trouble. It just sort of struck a chord with them. And amazingly, they came down. In fact, in this very room that we're in.
Wow.
Is where we tracked that song. They all crowded in here, and they were incredible. And it's so right that they sang on it. When I started writing, I could hear them on it straight away. I don't know how that works, but you just hear these things. And it just grew, and again, possibly a different vibe for me, but I'm really, really pleased with it.
I think it's a song too that if it didn't have a choir on, you would think, God dear, there's something missing. Yeah. And you might not even be able to identify and articulate what it was, but you'd know that there was an extra step that's needed. And it is, I think there's musically, there's something traditionally gospel. You can almost hear that Appalachian sound in it, I think too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're brilliant. And just such an honour to work with them, and they're going on and on to do great things.
And that line, I mean, you quoted it yourself, so it's obviously it's a central line in the song about dancing your way out of trouble. What do you mean?
Sometimes that's all you can do, right? I mean, you know, when you're up against it and you don't quite know how you're going to get over that mountain, I think we all know that feeling of utter fear and almost being paralysed sometimes by a situation you're in. But it's that thing about lifting your eyes. It's like, no, I can lift my head. I can find hope from somewhere to at least sort of get through the night sometimes and hit the morning with a bit of hope and a bit of joy. And music does bring that. And I think that we discovered that in lockdown, didn't we? That when you take art and music out of culture, you can't go to gigs, you can't go clubbing, you can't sing in church, you can't have everyone over. It did make a nation sad. And I was amazed at that. We kind of all knew it, but when it happened to us, why is everyone a little bit sad? And it's like, that's because we're not singing. We're not dancing together. And I think the record is almost just a reminder of just the sanctity of that. You know, some will go on to say, yes, it could be God, it could be faith in God, it could be discovering salvation, it could be all those things, and they may be true. But singing and dancing are amazing. You know, they're gifts from heaven. You know, you can't ignore that. And I think in me discovering my own more humanness during lockdown and frailty, and you know, I'm just a guy I can't do any magic tricks at the moment. You know, I can't say anything important, no one's listening. I think I just thought, there's something in this, and I've got to try and keep singing.
Are you a dancer, Martin?
No. But bizarrely, I've got so many songs about dance. I don't know what it is. I think, my wife's a brilliant dancer. My son is an amazing dancer, but I'm absolutely hopeless. But I can run around a building. I can run around a room like a madman if I want to. I can do that.
Let's talk about Our Eyes Are On You.
Yeah.
With Ellie.
Yeah.
Now, how? Obviously, we know how you know her, but how did she come on the record? Was this once your kids started growing up, was this an ambition of yours to make music on record with your children? I mean, presumably you sung with them in church, of course. But to have them on one of your albums.
Yeah, no, you're right. It would have started on a Sunday morning. You know, if I was sort of leading a service, or I would often get one of the kids to come and sing. But no, there was never a master plan.
No.
Or one day we could mould. You know, we could mould them into super singing Christian kids. Yeah.
How glorious! We could sell them. Very sinister.
Sell them on. No, we were just sort of happy for them to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
We never had those conversations. But however, you discover that it's sort of in their blood a bit, you know, and they've watched us at home, they've watched me, and so that's been amazing to see that in them, that it's not something they kind of like, it's just in them. So that's been a great joy for us. Time will tell which of them will carry on and do it, you know, professionally or more intentionally, but we just don't know that yet. But Ellie's doing great. She's made a record. She's signed to a label in America, and she's a beautiful kid.
Why this song? Why is she on this song?
That's a great question. It sounded like her a little bit. It sounded like the sort of thing she'd like. And when we shot the video to it, that made sense. Because the whole story about was discovering this flag in the sand and with the word freedom on, and she's really free herself. You know, she loves, you'd have to sort of see her. She's just chaotic, beautiful, very abandoned in her nature. So there we are running around together on the video, and that at that point it made sense to me while she was on the track. She's got the right voice for it. And the whole theme actually throughout the record also was this "Our Eyes Are On You" thing, which actually is a reference to an Old Testament Bible verse. I think it's in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, about a story about basically what we were saying. An army up against it thinking they're going to die, you know, like if we don't get saved tonight, we're all gone, you know, goners. And it's a story of God rescuing them, and then, you know, there's a brilliant verse that says, God, we don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. And I just thought that sentence sums up where I'm at. It sums up pretty much where most people are at. We don't know what to do. So much fear, anxiety, panic, but our eyes are on you.
It's a song of devotion rather than surveillance.
Yeah, and surrender, really.
Yeah. And it's a whopper. 7 minutes of it, Martin. And you don't get bored. You don't get bored at all, but it's a sprawling, it's a great epic.
Yeah.
It seemed. I think it's fair to say that it's probably the centrepiece of the album.
Yes, I think you're right. It really is the story that all the other songs connect into.
Okay, let's talk about Holy. Now, can we talk about Holy musically? Because I think it's the most musically adventurous track on the album.
Wow.
What were you trying to do, before we get on to the lyrics, which we must talk about, of course, but what were you trying to do musically here? It's so adventurous, I think.
Wow, that's really encouraging. Again, my daughter helped me shape that out, and then a guy in America called Jason Ingram. Yeah, I mean, the way the chorus moves, it's you're not sure quite where it's going to end, you know. But and I love the break in the middle where there's no lyric. It's just sort of me shouting.
Yeah.
Because that for me represents that feeling you have when you there's nothing left to say, you know. And I remember that so many moments this last 2 years. I've just run out of words. I don't have anything clever to say right now. I'm not the guy to talk to if you want a prophecy about the future, or you know, what's all this mean? You know, where's all this going? You know, nothing really sort of that intelligent to say apart from feeling like most people. You know, and being okay with that coming out of me. Just like I don't know what to say right now, but I'm hanging in there.
There's a sense of catharsis about it as well, I think. And lyrically, I mean, Holy is perhaps a title that you'd expect from a faith-based singer.
Yeah.
But where are you going with this one lyrically?
I mean, it is, like you say, it's quite hymny.
Yeah.
And it's some quite traditional words in there, you know. Even got the Royal Blood Band name in there.
Of course.
But I mean, it's a tip at the Nicene Creed a little bit, and taking some of the lines from there: God from God, light from light. Some quite traditional phrases, but hopefully, where the song gets to at the end, it explodes again into that upwards motion of joy, where you feel like you couldn't sing it sitting down. So,
no, that's an excellent point. It's a proper standing up song.
Yeah,
and you can see people swaying along to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's quite a statement as well in a world we live in at the moment where you're not allowed to make bold statements. You know, I think there's a line in it that says, "You are the Son of God." You know, you are the Lamb of God. Quite old-fashioned lines, really, of faith, but I think it fits in there. I think it works.
But there's another side to this as well. Why dress it up? You are what you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why leave room for misinterpretation? Because it doesn't mean you don't have to make subtle music or write subtle words, but yeah, that's who you are.
Yeah, and like I was saying, you know, I'm just comfortable in my skin, and you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But I'm happy. I'm going to still wake up in the morning and get on.
Let's talk Coldplay. Everyday Life. Not the song that people, and it's the title of an album title track, of course, but not the song that people would automatically think of when they think of Coldplay. Are you a Coldplay maven?
Yes, I went to the show in London right at the beginning, one of their early shows, and I was blown away. I got there and I was like, how's this guy going to like hold this big crowd sitting at a piano? Because you just think Elton John, don't you? Or you think that's not going to work. This is like a big arena. And the whole thing was mesmerising. And I've been a fan since. And I was listening to that record again, the Everyday Life single, and I was thinking, wow, these words are incredible. They were probably written 5 or 6 years ago, but what in the world am I going to do? You know, look at what everyone's going through. I mean, what a lyric for this time. And so I thought, hey, I've never really done a cover before. So I started working on it at home. And then I thought, if I could dream a bit, I'd love Victory Boyd to sing on it. Yeah. And she's this amazing artist from New York signed to Jay-Z's label. Oh. You know, we've never actually met in person, but after a few phone calls and getting to know her a little bit, I managed to persuade her to sing on it. And there I was on my phone in Brighton, and she's on FaceTime in New York, and she's singing into a mic, into her computer, and I'm trying to try that. Amazing, and her performance is incredible, and in some ways, it's my favourite song on the record. You know, it's a shame I didn't write it, but it sums up the time we're in, and I just think, what a song.
This is an awful question, a horrible question. What have you brought to this song that wasn't there in the first place?
I think I've made the song bigger in terms of its sonic size, and it's made it more anthemic because we added the choir voices at the end. I think it has a little bit more size to it.
Because it's quite a devotional song too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And lyrically, although I mean it's not overtly Christian, but it certainly fits in with the rest of the record. It's not an incongruous
it doesn't feel
cover
strange,
at all.
does it?
And and to have it at the very end, so you've got that kind of climactic chorus, and you've got two singers going for it, the big choir, the feel and everything. Yeah. It really finishes off. And I think that although, like you said, it's big, there's comfort and there's balm in this song too.
Yes.
There really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that so strongly, and her voice is incredible. The lyric, you know, like you say, the choir, the timing of that song, you know, who knows what's going to happen with that.
I mean, do you have any relationship with any member of Coldplay, and do they know that this unlikely song has been covered?
I don't know that they do know, but when we were playing in Exeter, this, I don't know what year this would have been, maybe 97, 98, we were playing at Exeter University. We had friends that knew his family, and the story is that he was at that show. I think he was like 16 years old or something, and he came to the show, and who knows whether that influenced him or spurred him on or whatever, but you know, what's in his voice is not too dissimilar.
No.
And I love that about him.
Okay, so that's the new album. Now, where does this album place you as a singer-songwriter in 2022?
I have no idea. I've no idea.
Where do you fit in, Martin?
I don't think I've ever fitted in. And I don't know that I can really work that out. I don't know where commercially it fits. And I don't know whether I'm prepared to even sacrifice everything to go for that big dream of, you know, if you want to sort of say making it again, or breaking into that. I don't know. I think I just take every day as it comes.
But surely the Martin now who would make it, as you put it, in 2022 would be very, very different to the Martin who did make it sort of 15 years ago with Delirious.
Yes.
You know, you're older, possibly wiser, who knows, not my place to say, and different.
Yeah.
Would you handle it in a different way? And I'm not saying that I'm not saying for a moment that you handled it wrong. It sounds almost like I'm seeking repentance, and I'm not.
I know exactly what you mean. I think that when great things happen to you the first time around when you're younger, it's just everything's a spin, isn't it? You can't even evaluate what you're in. You can't evaluate the moment because you've not been there yet. You start playing in an arena or in front of 60,000 people, and it's kind of normal. This is what we're doing. We're on this trajectory. It's only when you have a season where that gets taken away or you can't do that anymore, you realise how extraordinary that was. So I think that there'd be more humility now, hopefully, in that, one, I'm grateful to be alive, grateful to be married, and grateful to have a family. I'm grateful to be able to make music. I'm grateful to be able to put it out, that there are still a few people that want to listen to it. I've become more grateful for all of those things, and realising that doesn't have to happen. But I'm still making music most days. I haven't had to go off and get another job. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I've got friends around the world, and that I'm able to have the life I've got, and I mustn't take that for granted, and I don't take that for granted. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. That was the final episode from my conversation with the amazing John Alzlewood. If you could take a second to hit the follow button on your podcast provider, or if you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe, and you'll be notified as and when we release future episodes. Speak soon, look after yourselves, God bless, thank you.